Hello, virtuous thought leaders, scholars, and virtue change agents. My name is Dr. Lisa Marie Portugal, and I am so happy to present another talk for you. This one is called Virtue Principles and Character. And I just love that graphic here. Let's take a look at some of these words. Character strengths. You'll know which ones are my favorite, but I just love all of these words. And since I am a wordsmith, certain ones really do stand out to me. Perspective, gratitude, I just love. Perseverance, I love that one. Kindness, leadership, fairness, spirituality, forgiveness, humility, love, teamwork, prudence, that's very important. Creativity, of course I love that one because I'm a creative person. Humor, honesty, hope, zest, judgment, very important for us to have as managers and leaders of others as we go out into our careers, wherever we may be. We want to have good judgment, and that is a character strength. And then, of course, curiosity, because curiosity is what keeps us interested and helps us to continue to learn, to stay on a learning path. Okay, so my table of contents for you today is, what is character? The objective of virtue ethics, best practices, incorporating value-driven and ethical perspectives into organizational research, universal values such as control and reason. And universal values, a lot of those character strengths that were on that first slide, a lot of those are universal values. Regardless of whether someone comes from our cultural background or traditional Christian background, if they come from other religions or no religion, or different socioeconomic backgrounds or different cultures, we can find some common ground with people with some universal values. For example, I mentioned here control and reason, but also all of those character strengths. So a question to ask yourself will be later at the end of this talk, and then conclusion and references. What is character? When discussing the ethics of virtue, the focus shifts from what an individual should do to a focus on whom that individual is. For example, what is the individual's character? With this perspective, an important point to make is that the view shifts to a different way of looking at ourselves. When discussing a person's character, concepts such as enduring beliefs, values and attitudes, and dispositions constitute what a person is, right? So our enduring beliefs and values about our traditional Christianity, that constitutes what we are, right? Our disposition, what is our personality, what is our temperament? Similarly, one's virtues or lack of virtue constitute what that person's character is. These concepts become the identity of a person, for example, who the person is. An individual's character involves his or her rational or irrational deliberate choices, behaviors, and habits. And I'm always talking about right actions, right behaviors, and right philosophy, right? Thus, an individual's character constitutes how he or she acts and makes decisions. So character development, virtue building within ourselves helps us make better decisions. The objective of virtue ethics. The objective of virtue ethics is to develop and train an individual's character so that it is more inclined to act ethically. And that is a citation from Hartman et al., 2018. Age-old questions such as, is virtue learned or genetic? Or, are leaders made or born? Can be answered by the notion that all people can learn and all people can advance through development and training. And there are some citations that I have for you here. Arjun et al., Cameron and Wynn, and Havard. People may learn at different times, in different ways, and at different speeds, but all people can and do learn. Therefore, all people can benefit from a comprehensive, virtuous training and development program designed for any age, any group, and in any setting. And that's where people like you and I may come in, right? You can design character building curriculum for any age and any group in any setting you happen to be in. If you're in the school setting working, if you are in a corporate setting or a business setting, wherever you may be, you can model your character and your high expectations for others. Be that model wherever you are. When virtue principles are sought, taught, fostered, and promulgated within a society, organization, and nation, people can and do flourish because behaviors are influenced to cultivate a culture of excellence. Beautiful, right? And that also is a citation from Arjun et al., Cameron and Wynne, and Havard's 3 books. Okay, and the other ones were peer-reviewed studies. So I just love virtue ethics and character development, virtue building studies. And I also welcome you to look into any of these types of studies and this type of research that you can cite in your own papers and also in presentations that you may create and design for other people to help them grow. So now let's get into best practices. I just love this. I want to live in a culture of excellence, don't you? I know I'm always saying that. These 4 pillars here: character development, learning, service, leadership, and participation. So for best practices, I will leave that in your hands. How might you lead and manage others, in your sphere of influence, wherever you may happen to be, within those 3 pillars, but do it in your own creative and talented way, right? We all can bring our best every day in everything that we do, and keep in mind those 4 pillars and how might we do that in our sphere of influence. So what are important values, virtues, and principles to you and your leadership brand? Leaders and managers in all corporations should be professionally trained in virtuous behaviors, Aristotelian philosophy, and traditional Christian principles so that their business practices can foster and promote a culture of excellence rather than a selfish, short-sighted culture of profits over people. And this came out of some studies, again, from Arjun et al., Cameron and Wynne, Hartman, and Havard. So I always say when, we're talking about the business environment or the education environment, wherever you may happen to be in your personal and professional life, what you bring your best to the table, right? Along with your creativity and your talent and your good judgment, all of the character that you have developed within yourself, all of the virtues that you work on within yourself, because each one of us can lift other boats. We can lift other people in our community, in our workplace, in our school place, and throughout our society, right? Throughout our nation and the world. So never think that, you're just one person. You can't make a change or affect anything. You're just a cog in the wheel wherever you are. That's not true. Each one of us, if we look at this character development 4 pillars, all of us can lead and manage wherever we are. I like to call it leading in place, right? Or managing others in place. And you don't have to be a leader or a manager with a title, but what you bring to the table, when you bring your very best of who you are with our traditional principles, you are leading in place. You're going to help lift up other people around you. You're going to make that work environment, that school environment better because you're bringing your very best. So when training is provided that advances a culture of excellence, tangible long-term rewards can manifest while elevating the circumstances of all human beings globally. And that came right out of some studies from Arjun et al., Cameron and Wynne, Hartman, and Havard. I love all of the work and the research that these researchers do. So they just are saying right there exactly what I said, that, each one of us as an individual, we are not insignificant. Each one of us, what we can bring to the work that we do in the world is very significant, and it changes our communities, it changes our society, it lifts our entire nation, and globally also. So a culture of excellence of this nature can far surpass short-sighted business practices producing deficient, low-quality, contaminated products for corporate profiteering interests. So wherever you happen to be in the workplace environment, you bring your best every day, and you're going to produce quality for other people. And that makes a huge difference. So incorporating value-driven and ethical perspectives into organizational research. What does that mean? From a business perspective, control and reason bear directly on corporate culture, leadership, and management. And that came straight out of other studies, Hartman et al., Hinckley, and Hughes. Each category comprises a manner in which cultivating corporate ethos and individual virtue, see, each one of us matters wherever we are working, can and should work in combination for organizational and individual success. And again, that comes straight out of character development studies by Hartman et al. And Hinckley. The culture and environment of an organization requires employees and stakeholders with various character with virtuous character, and the ability to follow their ethical conscience for human flourishing and superior business practices. And again, more studies were cited for that. Byme, I hope I said that right, Byme et al., Cameron and Wynn, and Havard. So the research is out there that each one of us, with our ethical conscience, following our ethics, following our traditional Christian values and principles, developing virtuous character, we can improve the lives of others. That improves human flourishing for all, and it adds to superior business practices. That is a real issue, right? And we, like I said, that's why I chose this graphic. We want to bring our best to the table every day. So moral conversion can be experienced when individuals and organizations practice conscious and deliberate virtue building and character building in their business interactions with others. Again, that comes out of Havard, 2007, 14, and 18. All right, so let's get to the next slide. Universal values such as control and reason, right? And that was in the business environment. What does that look like? What does it mean? From an organizational research context, an emergence of universal values such as control and reason can have the ability to nurture both the organization and the individual for human flourishing and organizational profitability. So when we bring our very best to the table, when we have a strong character, strong virtues and values based upon our traditional Christian principles, the organization can be profitable, right? So we can contribute quite a bit wherever we are, and you are an asset. You are an organizational asset when you can bring your character, these characteristics to the table. Thus, responsibility, accountability, self-control. I love self-control. That's something that I have worked on throughout my entire life, right? And these terms are things that if we have our high standards and we're modeling for others, that shows up. People see that, right? So ethics in personal and professional relationships, right? We want to always be ethical people in our personal or professional lives, and striving for greatness in ourself, in others, the organization. And universal values such as control and reason are themes that can further advance organizational research. And again, I welcome you to look into a lot of these themes when you're, citing for your own papers, and when you're building other, curriculum or ideas for people that you're going to present to, or students that you may teach, or others that you may lead and manage in the future, or that you may be currently, right? So questions to ask yourself. What behaviors do you believe might foster a culture of excellence? Now, up at the top, we have virtues and vices. Let's take a look at the vices first. Dishonesty, impatience, injustice. I know I don't like just injustice, right? Self-indulgence. We always have to, keep ourselves in check so that we don't go off into a ditch, right? With too much indulgence. Greed, cowardice, immodesty. And then let's look at the virtues. So if you have problems in any of those vice areas, well, the solution is to see what the alternative is on the virtues side and work on that on a daily basis. Honesty, patience, justice, temperance, generosity, courage. I love that word, courage, and modesty. So now let's take a look at a quote from Thomas Aquinas. Perfection of moral virtue does not wholly take away the passions, but regulates them. And what are the passions? Those are, the things that we have inside us that can be easily tempted, where we may fall off a cliff if we get too emotional or too erratic, or we don't, have our emotions and our feelings in check. We're not in control of ourselves, right? That self-control, working on all of these virtues that we know about as we remember some of those words in the first slide. So, just working on these doesn't always take away the passions that we may have, right? But it does help us to regulate them better. So the more that we can work on our character building and our virtue building, and try and pursue the perfection of moral virtue, at least we can do, at the very least and at the very best, we can do our best to regulate ourselves. So let me read that one more time because I just love this quote. Perfection of moral virtue does not wholly take away the passions, but regulates them. And we want to make sure that we are always doing that so that we have good judgment. We can have, our perception is aligned with reality, not, our emotions and our feelings and and subjectivity and relativism. We want to be based and rooted on reality and objective truth, so that we can understand the situations that we are in, understand the people that surround us, and we can be fair and we can make better judgments, not only for ourselves, but for others, for our communities, and, for our society and nation at large, right? It's very important for us to lead with logic and intellect to make this a better society for everyone. Okay, so here are the references. I know I've gone through them before in other talks. I'm not going to go through them in detail, but they're all very good. And, of course, at the time when I wrote my particular book, some of the, these were current, but now I always welcome you to, look at these ones. They're a little bit older, but also look at the new studies that are out 5 years or less and see how you might be able to bring character building and virtue building and objective truth research to the papers that you're working on and to the curriculum that you work on for the aid of helping others in your sphere of influence. Okay, that is it for today. I want to thank you so much for building your own competency skills, and God bless you. Have a beautiful day. Goodbye.